Good morning. My name is Priya Shroff, and I am the founder trustee of Kurnev Foundation. Kurnev Foundation is a non profit organization based in Mumbai, India. At the Kurnev Foundation, we run several initiatives aimed at giving youth from all walks of life opportunities to complete their higher education, compete effectively in the job market, and be the first in their families to break generations of poverty. What makes us unique is that it is other youth who mentor, coach, and counsel their peers to success. Over the years, we have served over 1,000 youth. Today, youth leaders and youth change makers are here to share with you how their peer to peer network and faith in serving others above self helped them overcome the grief of losing loved ones, getting lost in their pain, and also accepting the loss of their youth as they witnessed some of life's harshest realities. Let's listen.
According to an article authored by Kaushik Dekka and Shelly Anand of India Today on January 4th, 2021, over 1.5 million schools across India closed down due to a pandemic, and the switch to large scale digital education was not possible in the moment. Only 24% of households have access to the internet, according to 2019 government survey. In rural India, only 4% of households have access to the internet. The Education Ministry's budget for digital e-learning was cut by more than 20% from the year before COVID struck to the year of the lockdown. The budget cut was a clear indication of the unforeseen pandemic, and it was clear that the digital education was not a focus of the Education Ministry. Hello and welcome. My name is Stephanie. I represent a youth movement called Pehchaan.
Pehchaan is an initiative of the Kurnev Foundation based in Mumbai, India. We are a movement run by the youth for the youth. We are founded on the core values of no blame, creating equal opportunities for all, and stepping into the solution. We focus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of no poverty and quality education. My name is Dilkhush, and today my peers and I would like to share with you our stories of triumph. Before we go any further, we would please like to say that much of our content today is sensitive. Our personal stories showcase how our peer to peer mentoring model based in compassion helped us overcome bullying, suicide, loss of family members, and the loss of our youth.
I'm Akhilesh. I grew up in the slums of Mumbai and have always lived below the internationally accepted poverty line of $1.90. I completed my education from a public school where the primary language of instruction was Marathi. I'm currently pursuing a science degree at one of Mumbai's most prestigious colleges. Where I come from, my peers and I are always encouraged to get jobs rather than complete our education. Our parents work as security guards, house help, drivers, and daily wage earners. On a normal day, we eat and live on day-to-day basis. The lockdown only exaggerated our already poor financial condition.
My name is Nishita, and like Akhilesh, I too live in the slums of Mumbai. My mother, father, sister, and I live in a home that is 10 feet by 8 feet. This is a total of 80 square feet. According to Car City Motors, a standard parking space is 9 feet wide at a minimum 10 feet long. This is a total of 90 square feet. This means my home is smaller than a standard parking space. Homes in a slum are stacked two or three high and packed in closely. On a normal day, our slum areas are very crowded. There are long lines to use the public toilets. It is difficult to have private washroom in homes as small as ours. There are also lines to fill water as water is released into our areas only at a specific time for a specific amount of time. Many young kids in our area do not study or are not encouraged to study. They are needed at home to look after younger siblings, fill water, or do housework while their parents go out and on.
At Pehchaan, we bring together youth from financially privileged backgrounds, have studied in private schools, and know English fluently, with the youth living below or very close to the internationally accepted poverty line, and have studied primarily in public schools where the primary language of instruction is not English. All of us go through a leadership development program where we taught about teamwork, project management, and how the school system is structured. We also go through sensitization training. This is where we learn and meet those from different financial backgrounds than ourselves. This is how a Dilkhush and I, from well placed schools and backgrounds, get to know and build friendships with Nishita and Akhilesh, our peers who were not afforded the same opportunities we were.
In August 2020, Live Mint reported that 79% of students had access to mobile phones. This still meant that 21% of students did not have access to phones required for their digital education. Poor internet connection was reported as the biggest challenge, as 57% of students found network connectivity disruptions. 31% struggled to focus, and 12% had difficulty getting their doubts cleared during online learning. In order to obtain these results, around 10,000 students in the age group of 12 to 28 years from across 400 Indian cities were interviewed for the survey. Around 90% of them came from families with annual income below 7 lakh rupees, or roughly 9,500 US dollars. To put this into perspective, our students come from families where the annual income is 2.5 lakh rupees or less. This is less than 3,500 US dollars. We did not know the numbers then, but we knew something was up because when the lockdown was announced on March 21st, 2020, we had 180 registered participants for our Pehchaan 2020 College Prep Week. By the time College Prep Week began in April 2020, we retained only 20 participants. The lack of access to smartphones and the internet were glaringly evident.
Homes as small as parking spaces can be occupied at the most by 4 people. Many of those who migrate to the city from their villages stay 8 in a home because 4 of them work an 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. shift and the other 4 from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. shift. The lockdown changed all this. They were now 8 in a home meant for 4. So our slums were more crowded than usual. The lines for public toilets and water even longer. There was now more congestion, more fights, and the noise level was disturbingly high. There was fear about how we were going to social distance, stay hygienic, and above all, how were we going to make ends meet with no income coming in? With no means of employment, many families living in the slums started returning to their villages. This triggered something called reverse migration. This was the second largest mass migration in the recorded history of India after the 1947 partition, where more than 14 million people were displaced.
One among the millions of displaced people during the lockdown was my 15-year-old mentee, Pinky. In May 2020, she was assigned to me as my mentee. Pinky was vivacious and eager to learn. She had graduated from a public school where the primary language of instruction was not English. But that was not going to stop her as she had big dreams. Pinky did not have access to a smartphone. So I connected with her on a regular phone call and walked her through our activities. It was not an easy feat at all to teach someone whom you couldn't see or share your screen with. But with her determination and mine, we were managing. I felt so happy mentoring her. During our sessions, we would study, play, and just talk in general. We were becoming friends. Then suddenly one day, she stopped answering my calls. I was confused and assumed she didn't want to go to college anymore. I was about to give up calling when my phone rang. It was Pinky's mother sobbing, explaining how the family had left Mumbai city for the village since they couldn't make ends meet. But they were stopped at the state border and moved into a quarantine center. They were without food or water. There was so much fear and confusion. As I listened to Pinky's mother speak, I felt helpless, confused, and above all, angry. I knew education for Pinky was no longer a reality. What about Pinky's dreams? Her dedication? What will happen to my new friend? What about many more teenagers like her? My anger turned into grief as I realized that millions of youth were suffering from the loss of snatched dreams and opportunities. My heart was shattered.
There were two consequences of the lockdown. First, as mentioned by Dilkhush, the mass reverse migration. Second, massive unemployment. As the pandemic continued, many of my peers lost their jobs. One morning, I received news that one of my close friends' elder brother had died by suicide. The reason for suicide was his loss of job and inability to manage his personal life. A young, promising life gone in a matter of seconds. How does anyone process a loss like this? His younger brother, my close friend, was in a lot of grief. His world had frozen. He didn't know how to move forward from here. We are both 20 years old. We have grown up together, so to see him like this broke my heart. Soon after, I received the news that the family living next to me, my neighbors, a family of three, had taken their own lives. They were a mom, a dad, and a daughter 6 years old. I was in disbelief, in shock. I was confused. Just the night before, I was invited for dinner to their place, and Auntie had lovingly prepared my favorite dish. We laughed together and had a lot of fun. I did not see the anxiety and fear being hidden behind that laughter. Their suicide note said they did not have enough money to pay for their rent, put food on the table, and pay for their daughter's school fees, which was 3,600 rupees or 49 US dollars for the year. They went on to say that they did not know if they would be able to survive the pandemic. I felt guilty and broken.
Last year, I was in my first year of junior college. What is known in America as 11th grade. It was the month of September, and due to difficulties of living in the city, The two rivers migrated to the village. From a young perspective, the entire country was in lockdown. Hence, after a long time, my father, mother, sister, and I were together in one house. I was so excited to spend time with everyone. One night, as I was about to sleep, I was informed that we were rushing my father to the hospital as he was not feeling well. It was easy to see that COVID had overloaded the doctors and nursing staff with lot of work. It was brought to our attention that my father had suffered a heart attack, but the doctor who attended to my father could not give him the required attention. My father passed away. He was a pillar, the primary bread earner in a family of four. The grief had taken complete control of me. The future looked bleak without his presence. Our family was broken. We were forced to fend for ourselves as we were grieving for him. Why did this happen to me? What will we do without our father? What will my future look like now? Were some of the many questions that I had no answer for.
I went to a school which was fancy and well maintained. However, my experience there was not a positive one. I was bullied and ridiculed. I was the kid who used to eat her lunch all alone. I was judged right from my body weight to my mannerisms. In turn, I ended up judging myself. Currently, I'm a college student, but the disheartening memories from my school never really left me. Last year, due to the lockdown, I was forced to be alone in my room with my thoughts, which meant that a lot of these memories resurfaced and became worse. I felt lonely and miserable. I did not know how to get out of this rut.
Dilkush went through anger and anguish. Akhilesh went through immense sadness. Stephanie was left alone with her thoughts, and I was shattered. It did not matter whether we were financially privileged or not. All of us were experiencing our own forms of fear and grief. All of us were struggling.
What brought me out of my downward spiral was my sweet little girl, my 16-year-old mentee, Sejal. She had suffered the loss of a family member, but the body of her departed loved one was left at her doorstep. She suffered from nightmares and couldn't understand how to cope. In helping her heal, I began to heal. In helping her study and begin to see and believe in her dreams, I began to see and believe in mine. I was her mentor, but it was evident that she was mentoring me right out of my rut. Today, like me, Sejal is a leader at Pehchaan, and she serves as a youth coach and a mentor to her peers.
My father's unexpected passing left me lost and scared. I did not know how to cope with this. Back at my village, as my mother and I held back our tears and stood strong during my father's last rites. We were surrounded by other women who wanted us to feel miserable and helpless. It is a tradition back at my village to surround the widow and force her to cry as a part of the last rites ritual. I did not want to focus on crying because I wanted to be strong for my younger sibling and mother. Instead of focusing on what was happening around me, I started attending each and every class offered by Pehchaan, the formal and informal ones. I began spending my time completing the homework, doing group projects, and even making vlogs in an effort to learn and improve my English. At Pehchaan, I found friends who reminded me that they were there for me, but never let me sink or fall. At Pehchaan, we believe in no excuses and we believe taking one opportunity leads to another. Taking those opportunities then allowed me to have the opportunity I do today to speak in front of all of you. In India, we have a belief that when our loved ones pass away, they leave us with their blessings. I believe that my father's hand is on me. It is his blessing that has brought my Pehchaan family to me. I am no more afraid of what will happen next in my life. In fact, I look forward to my bright future.
One of the most valuable lessons I've learned at Pehchaan is to help ourselves out of our hurt or our pain. We must step up to serve another and help them through their pain. I had an option to sink into the grief that I was feeling or rise. Despite what I was feeling, I chose to rise. I stepped up to be a youth leadership coach and led a team of 20. My team and I managed the Pehchaan Facebook account and led breakout rooms for our Friday leadership sessions. In my effort to serve, not only have I deepened my bond with my peers, but I have also leveled up. When you step up in compassion to serve, you heal.
What began to help me soften my anger and step up into the solution is that as I attended Pehchan classes, I began to see we have stories of peers lost to reverse migration, hunger, lack of focus given their circumstances. But we also had many Akhileshes, Stephanies, and Nishitas who, despite the lack of income, personal losses, lack of electricity, lack of smartphones, lack of food, noisy and congested homes, and mental health challenges, still dress up and show up. Without any excuses, they step up into their lives. And so I began stepping into mine.
We understand that the hurt and the pain arising from grief doesn't just simply go away, that it continues to ache. But with our friends, it becomes easier. With an opportunity to serve, it becomes better. When you know that you're not alone in your pain and that you have a community of like minded, loving peers to rely on, that makes it better.
Be it food distribution, internet package charges, phone conversation, teaching, mentoring, mental health challenges. We held each other's hand through it all. We rise above our challenges together. These actions of service and support created ripple effect as those who were being helped stepped up to help their communities by conducting food, phone, and sanitary pad distribution drives. All these small acts added up to one big act of compassion in action.
Today, we wish to share with you four precise steps that can be taken in order to create such a peer to peer network in your city, state, or country.
Step 1. Identify a group of youth who would like to serve as peer counselors regardless of background, income, or education.
Step two, train the youth to understand their own mental health and to identify, help, and support other youth going through non medical mental health challenges.
Step 3, create opportunities to get all the youth together. For example, conduct a leadership development program, a public speaking competition, summer camp, and more in order to build a bond with one another.
Step 4. Give the youth opportunity to serve and to strengthen their peer-to-peer network.
These are the four steps that have worked for us. We hope they help you to create a peer to peer network too.
If you have been touched by our stories of dealing with the grief as a youth-based community, we ask you to connect with us.
As we reach to the end of this presentation, we would like to honor the people who've left us. Kira Chandra Chaule, Pradeep Maurya, Sunita Maurya, Anjali Maurya, and Sanket Chauhan. They have softened our hearts and made us who we are today. Their blessings continue to strengthen and empower us to serve. In their memory, we present to you our stories. We wish that these stories leave a legacy of hope for you.
To the Parliament of World's Religions, we say thank you for offering us this platform to share our stories of grief and compassion.
We thank you, Hafiz and our family, for always bringing us opportunities. Thank you so much for believing in us and the work we do. Bhaktava ma'am, thank you.
To our Pehchaan team behind the scenes who have worked tirelessly to ensure our success, we thank you from our bottom of our hearts. हमारी पहचान है आपकी पहचान.
Thank you. We're now open for questions, please.
Thank you, everybody. Well done. We'd like to open it up for questions in case anybody has any questions. I know we're having some technical difficulties, so we are happy to take your questions even in the chat boxes, please. Where I see someone, Gail Lash, here with us. I'm not sure if you're able to unmute and speak. Would you like to share anything if you are able to unmute and speak, please?
Hello, yes. I've just chatted in there that how many youth has been through this program? How many have been touched by this so far?
How many youth have been part of this program since its inception? Akhilesh, would you like to answer that question, please?
Hello ma'am, thank you so much for the question. Thank you so much, Priyaz ma'am, for that. So, ma'am, from this program is being from past 8 and 9 years, and we have till now we have 1,500 youth being trained, worked so hard, and they also create their own opportunity by us. Ma'am, over here we cannot count because, ma'am, we look over here. If one generation, if I, if Stephanie, if Dilkhush, if Nishita have learned something over here, we cannot count as one. Our whole generation is being learned. So if we are going to say 1,000, it may be in many numbers because one person can change their own generation. Thank you so much, ma'am.
That is a great answer, Akhilesh. Thank you so much.
Ms. Lash, what do you do and what brings you to the parliament? How can we connect and support you?
Well, thank you. I am a teacher in peace studies, and very interested. I'm a Baha'i as well, and so I am very interested in the youth. You know, you have the power to change this world, and I'm so happy that you took initiative to really create something positive in a tragic situation. So thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I see a Vant Spirit Walker. Are you able to unmute? Would you like to share anything? I know some people are having technical challenges. Okay. Bhaktavar ma'am is here. It's hard for me to tell who can unmute and who cannot. In either case, we have a couple of questions, please. Was it challenging to form these friendships between your financial backgrounds? I'm assuming, but the question is, was it challenging to form these friendships? Stephanie, was it challenging to form these friendships?
Thank you so much for the question. And I would say initially, yes, it was very difficult for me as an individual to form friendships because I was never exposed to the other side of the bridge. But as I became a part of this program year after year, it became easier, and that has helped me gain a new perspective, something that I've never experienced before, and I'm grateful towards it.
Thank you. Dilkush, was it difficult to form these friendships?
Yes, please. At the beginning, it was because of lack of exposure, as Stephanie mentioned. However, as we continued in Pehchaan, it didn't come up as a challenge to us, because then it as we learned the different kinds of uh, learnings that we got through Pehchaan, it became easier. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Akhilesh and then Nishita, please. Akhilesh?
Thank you so much for the question, and thank you so much for explaining us. Yes, it was starting we had, but as many of my peers mentioned, this is family. So it's starting, it was starting like we cannot, but once soon we got to know each other. Even when we were starting, I had some of my friends whom I don't know. I used to sit with other person, but once we start to talk, so like it's a magic over here. Once we start coming here, people starting talking to each other. So it was at starting we felt, but never went so on. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Nishita?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the question. Yes, it was difficult to make friends to other financially privileged. Then afterwards, we they support us. They never uh, blame on us like we are not financially privileged. They support us in many ways, and they they just believe in us. And then when we started believing in us, we started believing in each other. That's where our bond get more and more comfortable. And now we are a huge family. Now we can share anything. We can share anything with us. So the friendship was amazing.
Thank you, Nishita. We have a comment on our Excel events chat from Fred, which says, "Thank you so much for the wonderful deeds you are doing every day. You all are truly an inspiration to youth all over the world. What a great example of how youth can make an impact." So, this is from our Excel events platform. We have one more question, please. What is your most memorable um, I guess I'm translating here. I guess what is your most memorable peer friendship moment, or what is your most memorable Pehchaan peer moment? Who wants to take that? Shall we try Dilkhush? Sure.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. So I would like to mention a very recent example of a memorable event where we serve as mentors, and we the participants who join the program are known as mentees. So when the college prep week, we conducted an online college prep week this recently, and my mentee Lakhan, he won the as Mr. like he won the best mentee in Pehchaan. And that was one of my most memorable interactions, like the most memorable Pehchaan moment, because I saw him grow and become confident each and every day as we mentored him. So that I would like to say was one of my most memorable Pehchaan moment. Please, thank you so much.
Thank you. Akhilesh? Yeah, his hand is already up. Akhilesh?
Thank you so much for the question again. And yes, but we have so many memories. So there is not only one memory. If I started counting it, it may took one day. No, not one day. It's gonna be 1 year. It's a Pehchan memory box. So I would like to share only for one thing. So I had a mentee when I was a mentor. So he was like me. He had a stage fear. He's the same. But when I started mentoring her, as Stephanie also mentioned, some mentees are like so much power, so much dedication. They mentor us. We say they're mentor, we are mentor, but they are actually. Uh, he went to a stage. He spoke 2 words. He was so scared on that day, but he spoke 2 words that made me cry. That a person whom I tried and he came to a stage and started talking and says two words about me that this guy helped me. So that was the most memorable and most emotional for me. So that yes, they are something for us. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the huge thing we love about our program, right, Akhilesh? Children who start out as participants or as beneficiaries of this program, who also live below the poverty line, who also live in slums, come back to us and become youth leaders, become change makers, become youth advisors in training, and mentor their peers who are also living below the poverty line and also living in the slums. So thank you, Akhilesh, for bringing up that point. I'm sorry, guys, we have more questions, so I'm not going to come to Nishita and Stephanie on that. um, we have a question from Gail Lash on the Axel Events platform, and it says, are the schools still closed? I'm wondering if this program of friendship and service could be integrated into the schools as a normal program now and post COVID, whenever that happens. Stephanie, you want to try that? And then Nishita can also try it. So basically, I guess, does a program like this currently exist in our schools? And if not, how can we begin it in schools once schools open?
Thank you so much for the question, Gail ma'am. Also, I know such such a program doesn't really exist as of now in our Indian school systems because we have two sectors, which is private and public. And I also feel that a program similar to Pehchaan can exist where private school kids volunteer to mentor kids from the public school once a week or twice a week just to help them with their basics. Thank you.
Thank you. Nishita, if we had something like a program like Pehchan in your school when you were in school, how would that have changed things for you? How would your future have been different?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the question. So, in schools, if this program was happening, we have changed our tone, our speaking tone, our, our confidence, because when we are in the school, we are not having that much of confidence that we can speak in front of 10 people also. But when if the webinars or the sessions were happening in the school, we can improve our confidence, our public speaking, and it will help our in future in college life. So where it, and also about curriculum activities, it will help in future to decide what we have to do. For example, in public speaking, if the if this event is happening in the school about public speaking, they teach us about that. It will help us in the future to decide, yes, if I can do the speaking good way, my tone is good, I can go in public speaking and make my career happen. So yes, it can help us to make our future better.
Thank you, Nishita. So, Gail ma'am, to answer your question a little more directly, no, this doesn't exist. Yes, we want it to exist. No, it has not been easy to implement in the schools to create this sort of bridge. And we are we are working. It is one of our goals to bring programs like this which create an understanding between the two sides. There are a lot of strong prevalent beliefs from the rich about what the poor are and who they are and how they are, and there are a lot of prevalent beliefs among the poor about who the rich are, what they are. So, what we try to do here by bringing the young youth together is allow them to see that what they've been conditioned to believe about the other is not entirely true. And then they take these new learnings back into their homes, their societies, their communities. And that's how we are beginning to bridge the gap until the school systems allow us in, or until the college systems allow us in. I hope that helps answer your question. Um, I see a Sherry Smith here. I don't know if you are able to unmute and speak, please, or if you would like to. We would love to hear what you have to say if you are able to unmute. Okay. So I know some of you are sending messages saying you all are having audio problems, but we thank you very much for being here.
I do have a question. My audio
Yeah.
is now working.
Perfect. Go for it.
What what was the most difficult part of setting up a peer-to-peer network?
What was the most difficult part of setting up a peer-to-peer network? I'm not sure the kids may know that, but let's try. Akhilesh, being the most senior person from the presenting youth team, would you like to try answering Miss Smith's question?
Thank you so much, ma'am. And answer to Priya's, why not? So, ma'am, thank you so much for the question. Yes, ma'am, there we face so many difficulties. So, like, ma'am, if you know, as a person living in the slums, so we mentor many people from the slums. In our background, if you can hear Nishita's part, if you can hear my part, there was so many background noises. And in that place, if we start connecting, start saying, ki, hey, can you see this? Hey, can you talk to this? Can you learn this part? So it is very difficult to uh, keep your concentration on that point. Like, ma'am, even while I was giving a presentation, some of my friends are passing through my home. So my distraction was on. So many of times being creating a bond with them on to on, it was very difficult to me. So that was the most difficult part that I faced when I was mentoring. Thank you, ma'am.
So online posed its new challenges, Sherry. It posed new challenges in that other youth don't want to be patient with the background noise. They don't want to be patient with the internet connection constantly dropping. So those were some challenges, getting the other side of the bridge to understand. But we've been through our share of challenges in setting this peer-to-peer network up, and we have with us Keisha Keshkamath, who is our youth advisor, and she has been an integral part of this program and setting it up. Keisha, would you like to quickly talk about it because we're running out of time? Quickly talk about the
Sure.
challenges we faced in setting this up. Go for it.
I think one of greatest challenges while setting up this platform was trust and building mutual trust between both these sides of the youth, where it was difficult to get kids from the differently privileged side to trust that the privileged side will not make fun of them, will support them, didn't have any ulterior motive while communicating with them. And likewise with the privileged side, they haven't been conditioned through no fault of their own to trust that these children will not steal from them or will not need something from them and trouble them later. So it was difficult to build that kind of trust on both sides. Other than that, patience is also a very important part of it. Understanding, everyone has empathy, everyone has understanding, but you really need to know the information. You need to understand what the other person is coming from, where they're coming from, their experiences. So getting them to trust that even when you don't know the entire story, you don't know everyone's story, but just having patience and trust that they need you and your support. So I think that mindset, setting that up and creating that kind of trust took us the most time. And that's something we work on even today, but we've come a long way in building that. So, and that's how these friendships exist today. Thank you. Thank you, Freyas, for letting me step in for that.
Yes, of course. We also faced a lot of challenges with parents from both sides. Parents of the affluent kids worried about what the kids from the less financially privileged backgrounds want from their kids, and vice versa. Parents from those living below the poverty line wondering what our ulterior motives were, and also not cooperating with because they have a belief that education is not a priority. They believe in early childhood marriage, and so to getting them to understand why education is so important and how our platform can help. And that's an amazing segue to end and invite you to please attend our third session at the Parliament today. Our third session at the Parliament today, I have all the timings written down, please. It begins at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So if you're in California or the West Coast, it begins at 1 p.m. Central time, 2 p.m. Eastern time if you are in New York, Florida, or Boston, and 11:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So if you are free, please join us for our third session. I'm so sorry we're out of time. Thank you for being here. We will certainly reach out to all of you who attended today. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, great, great evening. Bye. See you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.